Okay, hey, this is Tim Vasquez, and we're about to do a chart analysis exercise. Before I bring the chart out, if you'd like to actually analyze the chart, go to this link shown here and download it and print it and do isobars every 0.05 inch. This is an altimeter settings pressure chart, not sea level pressure. So do every 0.05 and find boundaries. And find fronts and dry lines, things like that. And you don't have to worry about isodrosotherms, moisture. We're not going to worry about that this time. So this will be a very quick analysis. All right, shall we give our chart exercise another try? This is exercise number 3, March 24th, and we're working with some live data for 3 p.m. Central. So let's check it out. And looks like we got a wall cloud outside. Let's go out and take a look at that real quick. Yeah, so we got this thing going out here. I guess it's not a wall cloud. It's kind of an updraft base. Okay, so let's go ahead and resume this, and we're going to do a very quick analysis here because I want to get this up on the channel. And when these things run up to 45 minutes, they end up being like half a gigabyte, and they take forever to upload. So what I'm going to do here is do isobars every 0.05, find boundaries, just the usual stuff, but I'm going to kind of work very quickly through it. I'm going to start with the 2980. And that's going to be in the North Texas area right here. And if you find boundaries as you go, definitely put those in. I suspect there may be one in here because as I draw this contour, the pressure jumps up all of a sudden to 2981. So I'm going to go around that. So you see what I just did right there. You can hear a frog out there. Yeah, it's getting to be spring for sure. Okay, up to 2980. And looks like we catch up with some other front up at the very top of the chart. And this one's pretty obvious, so let me draw the position of that. It gets very obvious in the Illinois area. 76 there, wow, 80 in Chicago. That's very unusual for this time of year. And looks like a bit of a sea breeze, lake breeze here in Milwaukee. So, not here in Milwaukee, we're in Texas. But anyway, the southern part of the tail end of that thing. Looks like we kind of lose it. And this is where we get into a boundary between the Pacific stuff out here and the Canadian stuff up to the north. So there is a boundary in between the two, and we have to kind of look at all the data to differentiate the two. A lot of times it comes down to dew point. You find very weak dew points down to the south. In this case, it's not so clear cut, but the temperatures look a lot cooler up north. We're bringing down these 30s here in the Garden City area and Goodland. 43 at Clayton, 49. That's going to be some of the Canadian air there. And so I think this boundary is going to maybe do something like that. Okay, and then let me check and see if we have any boundaries down in central Texas itself. Now, I will show you one trick to finding that Pacific front, especially in the late afternoon in spring. If you go westward, normally when you get into the post-frontal dry line air, you end up with very warm temperatures back in here. You'll see a lot of upper 80s, 90s, and even 100s. In this case, we see temperatures falling from 77, 82 to 73, down to 73 and even 67. So this is Pacific cold front air. This is not post dry line air. So the cold front has moved pretty far into Texas here. And I would suspect it has probably caught up to the dry line. So I'm going to do a very quick position here for, and I'm going mostly by dew point here. See 28 at Glen Rose to about 57 here at Cleburne. And we go from 29 there at Junction to 67 there at San Marcos. It's actually Austin. And then it's possible up here we may pick up the dry line, but let's look at the temperatures. Well, we've got 78 there with dry conditions. That's possibly post-frontal or post-dry line air. 77, 79, that's pretty dry and warm. So I think the dry line is maybe off to the east, and then the cold front is further west. So I'm going to go with something like that maybe. And then I see here at Hobart, or is that Weatherford? Whatever it is, 64 there. Pretty cool. Then up to 77 in Oklahoma City. So I think the cold front is in between these stations here. So I'm looking at all the data here. Actually, I think the cold front may be a little further back. Yeah, there's 81 here. This is not a very clear-cut day, so I'm probably looking at that for the cold front, maybe even a little further. No, that's about right. And then the dry line a little bit ahead. Okay. So that's kind of the thought process as we go through this. Now let me finish off the isobars, and a lot of times the isobars will help you out. Here's the 2980. And normally this should, actually this should always kink where you have a front, so that can sometimes help you out too. Looks like the kinking there is kind of weak. 2970 line. You noticed I went pretty dense with this data because I wanted to have everything available. There's the 2970. Maybe I'll try to do a neater job this time around. You can hear a little bit of thunder out there. Kind of setting the mood here. And I see a lot of rain on the surveillance. Okay, there's 2970. Let's find 2980. It's going to be up here north of Great Bend. And now we see the kinking of the front right here in the Texas Panhandle. So you see I'm doing every 10 on the isobars right now, and then I'm going to fill in the every 5 after this. Okay, there's no 2960s, so now I'm going to do 2990. So I'll start way down here. Looks like this is a contour that kind of opens up to the south, and then we pick up another 2990 to the north. So do you see what I did there? So that might throw off some people. So that's a 2990 there, and that's a 2990. Okay, let's finish this off so I can get this video up and uploaded. There's 2990. And I can see that that's going to get carried up into Iowa. And I'm kind of going through this very quickly, like I said, so Normally I'm very careful to bring the isobars around the stations where they belong. But I'm kind of rushing through this. I'm being very careful though. $29.90. This is going to go up into Missouri. And usually when you're in a hurry like this, you can kind of rush with every 10 and then be very careful with the 05. And then you can refine those if you need to after that. Okay, the $29.90, that's going to open up into Illinois there. Then I'll lay down a quick 30 even. And then we have a 30-10 coming here. Okay. Then we get into the mountains here. So this is going to be the 30 on the other side. And since this is getting pretty far back behind into the cold air, I'm not going to spend too much time here either. I'll just do a couple of cursory lines here to get the general shape. So there's 30-10. 30-10 looks like it comes all the way down to the El Paso area. And then we have a 30-20 in the mountains here. Okay, and that's good for the Rockies there. So let's fill in the 05s. We're going to do $29.95. Or I'm sorry, $30.05. This one I'm being slightly more careful on. I'm looking for boundaries that I might be missing. Okay. $30.05 on the other side. $30.15. This is pretty far east, so I'm rushing on this side. And $30.20. Okay, now I'm getting closer to the low, so I'm going to start being a little bit more careful. There's the $29.95. Okay, $29.95. The next one is going to be $29.85. I'll start that on the cold front here. And this looks like it goes up and to the left and not up and to the right. $29.85 goes that way. We try to label this at the top and on the outsides. So I'll just go ahead and rejoin this from the other side like that. One of these days I'm going to do a neat job of the chart analysis. I know this is kind of a mess here. But like I said, I'm trying to get the video on the air, up and on the channel. If you go a little bit slower with this, you can have a better chance at finding boundaries. And then we have a $29.65 in here. Or do we? Yeah, we do. Right here, near Canadian. And let me find my eraser. there's our 2965. And where's the low pressure exactly? It's going to be a little bit southwest of that station right there, Canadian, because the air spirals from the bottom right to the upper left and into the low. So I'm just going to use blue for everything real quick. There's our low right there. Our Pacific cold front. I'm going with that for a position. Then we have our dry line out ahead of that. And I'm probably going to need to refine that a little bit. So I'm going to bring that a little bit further out like that. And I think it even goes out toward McAllister, around Ada here. Now normally on a severe weather day, with tornadoes forecasts and stuff like that, I will actually go and look at the radar and the satellite and go back and forth and use that to really fine-tune things. Okay, then I think that goes north. And then we've actually got a triple point up there in northern Kansas. So there's our dry line. And that's the markings we use for a dry line right there, just to open pips like that. And then we draw in the Canadian cold front. And this, I think, is quasi-stationary because the mean component of the wind flow looks kind of indeterminate across the boundary in this area. Then from here, it becomes a cold front because it's mostly coming out of the north. And probably looking at something like that there for the cold front there. And there's a possibility that this thing may actually be wrapped all the way around. We may have an occlusion there. This is where I'd probably look at some of that next generation satellite and look at this front here, look at this front here, and see if they're wrapped around the low. But I think for the time being, this is probably good here. So this air here, this is a post-dry line air. That's from the Arizona, New Mexico plateau. This is Pacific cold front air. And this is Canadian cold front air, Canadian polar air. And this here, of course, is tropical air. Then, of course, we've got the squall line out to the east, which is where we're at, and you can hear it coming down. And I think we've got a video ready to load. So let's do that. Let me just throw the high on there real quick. Okay, good. I think we've got a 20-minute video, so that's much better than what we had the other day. Okay, hope you enjoyed it, and be sure to catch the nightly webcast at 8 p.m. every night. Sometimes I do take a break, but yeah, every night at 8 p.m. You can join us and keep up on the forecast techniques and the latest weather. Anyway, thanks, and have a good afternoon, evening.